welcome to GRTS News, broadcasting for viewers in the Gambia and around the world. Our top stories this hour. The Supreme Court of the Gambia dismisses the election petition filed by the opposition United Democratic Party for not fulfilling Rule 11 of the Election Act. The National Council for Civic Education continues to sensitize local communities on the need to maintain peace in the aftermath of the December 4th presidential elections. And find out later in the news the achievements as well as challenges in responding to the COVID-19 pandemic in the Gambia. In sports, the Scorpions of the Gambia arrive in Qatar for their final training camp before the Africa Cup of Nations. And away from home, Senegal unveils the first new railway built since it gained independence from France, as the regional express will begin providing transport from the industrial city of Diamniadio to the capital. Plus, Britain's government says it will not introduce new COVID-19 measures for England before the new year. Well, viewers, there are much more coming ahead in this edition of the news. I am Esa, so thanks for joining us. Now we begin with some legal matters because the Supreme Court of the Gambia today dismissed the election petition filed by the opposition United Democratic Party, the UDP, for not fulfilling Rule 11 of the Election Act. A panel of judges led by the Chief Justice, Hassan B. Jallo, went through the submissions and arguments of both parties before handing down the verdict. Dissatisfied with the December 4th presidential election, the opposition United Democratic Party on the 14th of December filed an injunction before the country's Constitutional Court challenging the results of the election, in which the electoral body declared the National People's Party flag bearer, Adama Barrow, as the winner. During the hearing, the legal team representing the first respondent, led by Serif Marie Tambedu, urged the court to dismiss the petition for not complying with Rule 9 and 11 of the Election Act and the security of the respondent. However, after going through the submissions and citations made by both parties, the panel of 5 member judges upheld that the petitioner has failed to comply with Rule 11 of the Election Act, which is about notice of security of the respondent. According to the judges of the Apex Court, Rule 11 of the Election Act is mandatory, and non-compliance of the said rule is fatal to the election petition. The court consequently unanimously dismissed the entire petition for not complying with the Rule 11 of the Election Act with a cost of $100,000 to the first respondent. Meanwhile, the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, has called on the opposition United Democratic Party to unconditionally accept the verdict of the Supreme Court after the Apex Court dismissed their petition, which sought to invalidate the outcome of the last presidential election, which the incumbent won by a landslide. President Barrow was speaking to executive members of his party who called on him to congratulate him on what they believe is another victory, but this time at the court. As we hear in this report by Mamadou Jallo, the president believes his opponents have exhausted all avenues and should now join forces to develop the country.
It was yet another victory celebration of some sorts at the Cabinet Room at State House, as the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, welcomed members of the NPP and allied parties who had just returned victorious from the law courts. The last 2 weeks had seen heated exchanges at the Supreme Court, where the NPP was fighting off a petition from their arch rivals, the UDP, who were seeking to overturn the results of the last presidential election. That bid failed, and now the NPP members came to once again congratulate the President on this latest victory. Demba Sabali, Deputy National President, said the victory further cements President Barrow's credentials as a true Democrat who has the support and confidence of the Gambian people. On behalf of the NPP, he congratulated the President and further reaffirmed their solidarity and support for the party leader. These sentiments were shared by Ajama Imuna Balde, the NPP women's mobilizer, who was overjoyed at the decision of the Supreme Court, which now lays to rest any doubts about the President's victory. Alkali Conte, one of the advisors of the President, described it as another important victory that will further weaken the UDP as a political force in the Gambia. Mr. Conte predicted more setbacks for the UDP, warning that the parliamentary election in April will spell doom for the opposition party.
Now, NPP, what we need to focus on is to make sure we erase them. At first, the parliamentary, we are going to make UDP history. That means that we need to focus. I know there is excitement. We can rejoice. Why we need to stay focused? Because come April, we want to make sure that they do not come back to the National Assembly with a single seat.
The President, His Excellency Adam Barrow, once again extended profound gratitude to all Gambians for giving him another mandate in an election described as free, fair, and transparent. He therefore called on the UDP to accept the decision of the court and join him to develop the country in the spirit of democracy.
We respected their decision to go to court, but they also have to respect the decision of the court so that we can move on. As Muslims, we must accept God's decision. You should abide by it and continue. Therefore, I am calling all members of the UDP to come on board and develop the country. It's now time for work, not noisy politics, because that's useless.
The President also urged his party and allies to remain united and focus on the task ahead, adding that as President, he will continue to entrench democracy, the rule of law, and independence of the judiciary. Mamadou Diallo, GRTS News.
The National Council for Civic Education, NCCE, in partnership with the National Youth Council, supported by the UNFPA, Monday commenced a two-day dialogue for security forces, youths, and other relevant stakeholders within the Kanifing municipality. The interface is meant to discuss the maintenance of peace and stability ahead of the 2022 parliamentary elections. Usman Mane picks up the rest of that story.
Violent-free presidential election. The National Council for Civic Education continues their massive sensitization on maintaining a peaceful society for members of the security forces and young people across the country. The latest convergence is in the Kanifing municipality, where the preservation of peace and stability was the main talking point. The program manager, National Council for Civic Education, Yusufa Bojang, explained that the forum is a build-up on the ongoing civic education scheme of the council in the 2021-2023 election cycle.
After the December 4th, we thought now that the election is over, but we are in another critical period. Election, we all know, is it's not an event, it's a process. It starts somewhere and continue rolling. We started with the pre-election, get to the election itself, and now we are in another crucial stage, which is post-election. Post-election, of course, we know many things are involved. The results will be announced. People will celebrate, but others will be sad, and others may even protest the results. And that is exactly what we are witnessing in the Gambia. There are others that are celebrating, but there are others that say no, and they're protesting, and they're challenging the results. And as civic educators, our message is everyone has a right to celebrate, but also everyone has a right to say the contrary. But all that we advise people to do is to make sure that whatever happens, let's follow the due process to seek for redress. And we are happy that that is what is prevailing, that is what is happening. But the other concern is the outcome of it. How will people take it? And that is why it is important we continue the conversation to know that whatever the outcome is, we take it in good faith and move to the next level.
The regional speaker, KMC Youth Parliament, Honorable Esa Sane, called on the young people of the municipality to continue their role as youth leaders in the promotion of peace and stability in the country.
Actually believe that it is the young people that have the mantle to be able to promote peace.
The Vision Development Foundation on Monday donated 100 bags of rice and other food items as part of its annual Christmas gift to the Gambia Christian Council. Khadijatu Juara reports that the foundation also offered financial support to disaster victims, students of the University of the Gambia, and other needy students to advance their education.
Charitable organization called Vision Development Foundation on Monday donated 100 bags of rice and other food items as part of its annual Christmas gift to the Gambia Christian Council as a Christmas gift. In a similar but separate engagement, Vision Development Foundation has also financially supported disaster victims, students of University of the Gambia and other needy students to advance their education, addressing the gathering during the presentation of donated food items and checks to beneficiaries. In a brief ceremony held in Pipeline, the chairperson board of directors, Vision Development Foundation, Lamin Fatajo, said the gesture is part of his organization's annual socio-corporate responsibilities in extending assistance to vulnerable population.
We are going to give donation to the Christian Council. We are also going to support about 11 students, and also we are going to intervene in some disaster, people who were affected by fire disaster, quite a number of them. A total of about $571,294 is going to be distributed either in cash, check, or kind. So that's the reason why we are gathered here. This program is being sponsored by our CEO, Momodu Dabo.
Different beneficiaries, including Papa Dominic Da Costa from the Gambia Christian Council and Musa A. Tarawale, a disaster victim, both thank Vision Development Foundation for the timely gesture.
On behalf of the Christian Council, I would like to just express my sincere gratitude and thanks for this great support, because one thing that we believe in this Christmas season is a season where we celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, and also a season where we extend the joy of what it means for God's salvation on the face of the earth. And we are grateful for this gesture once again.
Reporting for GRTS News, I am Khadija Tujuara.
Now, the Gambia is among countries hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, which started in 2019, distracting social and economic order. But what has been the situation of the pandemic in the Gambia since the confirmation of the first case in March 2021? Our Ibrahim Jallo takes a look at how the virus crossed into the country, challenges as well as achievements of the government and partners' response in handling the pandemic internally for public safety. And this is his report.
COVID-19 broke out in the Chinese city of Wuhan in late 2019. Not much was known about the deadly virus, but soon after, the virus spread across the world. The Gambia recorded its first case in March 2020, sparking fear and panic among members of the public.
With this announcement marks the first case of COVID-19 in the Gambia. This particular confirmed case is a lady in her 20s who returned from the UK on Sunday through the Banjul International Airport. A day after arrival, she started to have fever and decided to self-isolate at home. She reported to the MRC under isolation and was tested and found to be positive.
As cases of the virus rose in the second year of the pandemic, government and partners came up with rapid response in terms of medical, food and relief items to support the public amid public lockdown as part of preventive measures. The country's airspace was closed in a bid to prevent importation of cases, especially from hotspot countries. According to the 411 situational report by the Ministry of Health of the Gambia, as of 19 and 28 of December 2021, 10,087 cases were confirmed, 57 active cases, 9,688 recoveries, and 342 deaths.
It has not been easy, definitely, to be honest to you, because it has overstretched all ministries of health, and health workers in general, and the Gambia is not left alone in that. We have struggled since we can see in March 2020, and as we speak now, the Gambian total number of cases since 2020 March is 10,039 cases. So we really thank all those health workers, especially those in the front line, for risking their lives, the lives of their families, because it was not easy.
The country has since been rolling out vaccines as part of the fight against COVID-19, which has so far claimed millions of lives globally.
Our intention is to vaccinate the entire population, but perhaps the resources will not be adequate at that time, and I'm sure government will chip in. That one, I'm very sure of that. And then we're also working, the ministry is working very hard with the partners like World Bank, Gavi and others, at least to make sure that at least vaccine is available for each and every individual in this country. And then we will also communicate to the public as to the target population for the vaccination.
Meanwhile, the world is currently gripped by an alarming surge of the Omicron variant, but the Gambia is yet to confirm a single case of this variant. However, the Gambia government, through the Ministry of Health, is actively monitoring situations regarding the pandemic for the safety and protection of the general public. Ibrahim Jallo, GRTS News.
The Minister of Defense, the Chief of Defense Staff, and senior members of the Gambia Armed Forces on Tuesday convened a 3-day retreat in Bijilo. The event is aimed at reviewing the policy activities for 2021 and to work on the work plan for 2022. Senabu Jan witnessed the forum and see now reports.
The convergence came at a time when sectors are reviewing activities for the year under review. The meeting enables the Defense Ministry and the Gambia Armed Forces to check and assess program implementations following series of policy developments. This, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Defense, Rohi Bitey Dabo, will help to better implement strategies for effective service delivery.
Now, the purpose of this retreat is for us to be able to take stock of what we have done this year so far, look at the challenges we have encountered, and how can we make things better for next year. If you look at the theme of the retreat, it works, and how can we make it work better for 2022. So that shows that whatever we do, there is always room for improvement. So we are here today to plan better and then ensure that everything we do is monitored from now on, and then we'll evaluate what we have done through 2020, through 2021, and then see what we need to improve in 2022 so that we can work effectively and efficiently.
The Chief of Defense Staff, Gambia Armed Forces, Major General Yakuba Drame, said the retreat seeks to achieve efficiency in the operations of the Gambia Armed Forces to achieve the aims of the security sector reform.
This retreat, in my opinion, is very timely. You put in place all what it takes in terms of your set goals and objectives, and how do you want to work towards those set goals and objectives given a specific period. As we are about to say goodbye to 2021, in my opinion, it is absolutely fitting and proper that we do some assessment in terms of post-mortem in regards what did we achieve right for 2021. Obviously, it's natural. If you can identify what you've achieved right, without malice, there's always some shortfalls. Those shortfalls, basically, you try to put in place some mechanisms to see how you can...
Over the ceremony, the Minister of Defense, Sheikh Omar Faye, said the meeting will enhance civil oversight, institutional reforms, and create professionalism in the Army in the execution of their mandate.
The retreat cannot come at a better time. I personally attach great significance to this gathering. It provides us, as a ministry, with the unique opportunity to have open and frank discussions on salient issues and allows for a fruitful exchange of views on the pressing concerns of the ministry. You must open communication with your colleagues. Lack of communication leads to a lack of cooperation, which in turn leads to suboptimal performance.
The retreat is expected to improve the implementation of the SSR programs as stakeholders discuss issues of military and security. Senabu Jan for GRTS News.
You're watching GRTS News. We'll now take our first commercial break. When we return, we will look at sports.
Andal Santop mom la xalé yépp patamo Santop di len sawarlo Santop di len yok katan Santop baax ci mak baax ci xale Santop bari ay façon yi jafkate bokkuñu façon tànnal bu la ca neex mun ngeen ko amee ca makkan bu magga ca Banjul 61 Liman Street wala Kairaba Avenue ak ci bépp supermarket ak boutique ci biir réew mi tàggil dëgg 924 4331 wala 244 2485 moji.
The African Cup of Nations is back again, but this time with the Gambia in it. Join Africel's Road to Cameroon live show on GRTS and stand a chance of winning millions of dollars and an air ticket to watch the Gambia at the African Cup of Nations live in Cameroon.
To be a winner on the Road to Cameroon show, call 1010 and join us every Monday, Wednesday and Fridays live on GRTS, Afri Radio and on all our social media partners at 9 p.m. to be a winner.
Africell, the official GSM partner of the Scorpions.
Welcome back to GRTS News. Over now to some sports. The Scorpions of the Gambia have arrived in Qatar for their final training camp before the Africa Cup of Nations in Cameroon early next year. While in Qatar, the Scorpions are scheduled to play the reigning African champions Algeria as part of the training camp. GRTS Sports will keep you updated on the Scorpions training camp in our subsequent news bulletins. We will now take a very short break. When we return, the news will continue here on GRTS. Welcome back, and time now to look at news beyond our borders. We begin in Senegal, where the country have unveiled the first new railway to be built since it gained independence from France. The regional express wheel begins providing transport from the industrial city of Diamniadio to the capital in Dakar. Asisata Tal tells us more.
$1.3 billion commuter railway looks to ease traffic heading to and in Senegal's capital, Dakar. Currently, the regional express service connects Dakar to the industrial city of Diamniadio.
Today, here in Diamniadio, the emerging Senegal has taken a new step in its upward trajectory. Our march towards our emergence continues because tomorrow, the regional express will arrive at Blaise Diagne Airport, and then step by step, we will go to Thiès, to Mbour, and even farther.
The railway is part of President Macky Sall's Senegal Emergent Plan, which looks to speed up the country's development.
All Dakar residents are victims of traffic jams. You lose a lot of time, you lose energy, sometimes you lose markets, you lose even in the operation of the public and private sector. It is a huge difficulty, and without the railway, you cannot go far.
The railway is expected to carry around 115,000 passengers daily. The 45-minute ride from Diamniadio will cost $3 US. Astatal, CGTN.
Now, Tanzania's government has urged its citizens to be calm as work to find a solution following a move by the United Arab Emirates to suspend flights from the country continues. UAE authorities recently announced the suspension of all inbound flights from national and international carriers and transit passengers from Tanzania, Kenya, Ethiopia, and Nigeria with effect from December the 25th. CGTN's Isaac Lukalu has more.
Most of us have got used to doing this now. But beyond that, since Sunday, rules between each of the UK's 4 devolved nations now differ. For those moving freely between them, it can be hard to keep up. This lady's a visitor to Northern Ireland.
I've come over from Scotland, so everything's different. There's different types of passes. We use an NHS Inform pass over there. Over here, you have to show something when you walk in. Over there, you don't. I have no idea. I am totally lost.
For locals in each region, it is perhaps clearer.
I have a fairly good grasp, and I think that by and large, it's all pretty straightforward and sensible.
England stands apart from its Scottish, Welsh and Northern Ireland neighbours now, the only part of the UK not to tighten the rules, instead opting to rely on its rapid booster rollout. Despite record case numbers, hospitalisations remain way below last winter's peak. A disproportionate number of those admitted are unvaccinated. Still, up to 1 in 10 Londoners, for example, currently have COVID-19. So the public have been voluntarily cautious in recent weeks. For New Year, ministers are advising them to keep that up.
Take a lateral flow test if that makes sense, celebrate outside if you can, have some ventilation indoors if you can. Please remain cautious, and when we get into the new year, of course we will see then whether we do need to take any further measures, but nothing more until then at least.
Staying open also brings disruption though. The Premier League, for instance, postponed its 15th match of the month on Tuesday after a COVID outbreak in the Wolves camp ahead of an away trip to Arsenal. That may be why the tightening a little approach has proven more popular for many other parts of Europe as well, along with sometimes lower vaccination rates. Germany brought back limits on social gatherings from Tuesday and will play its football without spectators. Italy has already banned gatherings over the festive period and now says it'll shorten the gap between second and third doses too. Finding the best way to stay open is a constant balancing act. For the majority, a little now could save more hassle later. England remains somewhat of an outlier. Guy Henderson, CGTN.
That was a report on what England is doing as far as new COVID-19 measures are concerned. Moving on, severe flood in northeast of Brazil has killed at least 20 and forced thousands to evacuate. The governor of Bahia state declared it is the worst disaster in the state history, and rescuers are bracing up for more in the coming days. More in this report from Sao Paulo.
Heavy rains and floods have battered the state of Bahia in Brazil's northeast. 2 dams gave way over the weekend, the first in the town of Itambé on Saturday night, and then on Sunday morning another break in the town of Jussiapé. Authorities have issued warnings on social media for residents to seek higher ground shortly after the dams burst. 35,000 people have been driven out of their homes. The city of Itabuna, seen here, was among the worst hit by the flooding. There were dramatic rescues after streets turned into fast-moving streams. The governor of Bahia, Rui Costa, visited the region and said this was the biggest disaster in his state's recent history.
I have seen many videos of people taking risks to help others who are more vulnerable, like the elderly and children. People with water up to their necks, others using rafts. So people are joining together in the name of life.
For now, rains have eased, but the water was still going up in some cities because of rising river levels. The weather forecast calls for more rain in Bahia over the next couple of days. Paulo Cabral, CGTN, São Paulo.
Well, viewers, that does it for this edition of the news. But before we go, a recap of our top stories. The Supreme Court of the Gambia has dismissed the election petition filed by the opposition United Democratic Party, the UDP, for not fulfilling Rule 11 of the Election Act. The National Council for Civic Education continues to sensitize local communities on the need to maintain peace in the aftermath of the December 4th presidential election. And GRTS has been finding out the achievements registered as well as the challenges in responding to the COVID-19 pandemic in the Gambia. And in sports, the Scorpions of the Gambia arrive in Qatar for their final training camp before the African Cup of Nations in Cameroon early next month. And away from home, Senegal has unveiled the first railway built since it gained independence from France, as the regional express will begin providing transport from the industrial city of Diamniadio to the capital. Plus, Britain's government says it will not introduce new COVID-19 measures for England before the new year. Well, viewers, that was all we had time for in this edition of the news. Thanks for watching, and you can join us at 10 p.m. for more news.